This is a column written in direct reaction to Sunday's controversial post-game incident involving Marcus Stroman, who angrily stormed away from a media session outside the clubhouse at Fenway Park following yet another Blue Jays loss to the Boston Red Sox. He didn't like a question from Sportsnet's Raj Madani. Blue Jays starter Marcus Stroman, seen here pitching against the Seattle Mariners earlier this season, was upset after a question following the team's loss to Boston on Sunday. Carlos Osorio, Toronto Star file photo. The question from Madani, one of the most professional reporters in the business, was properly left to the end of the scrum because it had nothing to do with the game that had just taken place, a 5-2 loss to the Sox in which Stroman had allowed 4 runs in 5 innings, running his season record to 2-7 with a 5.86 ERA. As the cameras shut down and Stroman stalked away, he turned and ranted, "I'm effing terrible. We're effing terrible. And you're asking about Nat effing Bailey?" Stroman was referring to the beautiful home ballpark of the Class A Vancouver Canadians, where he broke in as a first-year pro in 2012. Article continued below. The reason Madani asked the question, meant to be part of another video story, is that because, other than after his own starts, Stroman makes sure he is not available to any media for any type of interview. And the Jays have allowed that. What do you think? As a disclaimer, it should be noted going in that Stroman doesn't like me. He believes that there is no such thing as constructive criticism. He believes that it's all mean-spirited, most of it stemming from a deep sense of jealousy from outsiders because he is successful and making a lot of money despite being short. I wrote a column early in 2016 when he was emerging in a breakout season. I suggested it was too early in his career, that he hadn't done enough to call him a true major league starting ace. He angrily called me out in the middle of the clubhouse and, with Josh Donaldson doing an excited, hilarious play-by-play of the exchange, suggested that I was suggesting he could not be an ace because he wasn't tall enough and wasn't white enough. That ended the 3-minute conversation and we haven't spoken one-on-one since. His choice. I have asked. It was around that same time Stroman blocked me on Twitter. He has since blocked other media members and, in fact, has even blocked at least one fan that dared criticize him. A young cousin, Paul Flood, drove to Cleveland along with hundreds of other Jays fans earlier this year. After a rainout, he waited outside Progressive Field for an autograph. When Stro emerged, Paul asked. He pulled his hoodie down over his head and brushed past. Later that night, the fan went on Twitter to explain his disappointment and later discovered he was now blocked on both Twitter and Instagram. The bottom line is that Stroman was right about both him and his team being terrible heading into the break, but he needs to mature before he can find true success in the major leagues. He expresses his love for the organization and the city, yet whenever you see him interviewed, when it's his turn to appear before the cameras, he seems to always make sure he's wearing something featuring the Stroman brand. It's never the Jays hat or other gear. That sends a message. Article continued. Beloise, Stroman is right. The Jays have been terrible. This is a pitcher that definitely should have better statistics in 2018. There is no doubt about that. He is a ground ball machine that needs solid defense behind him. It hasn't been there. In the first inning Sunday, with a chance to escape the inning with a runner on first and 1 out, Devin Travis charged a grounder, missed a swipe tag, then bobbled the transfer for an error, with the ball and the man rolling to the mound to join Stroman. No outs were made. A head shake. Stroman needed 12 more pitches to get out of the first. After that, in the 5th, Sandy Leon stroked a drive to the warning track in left field that Teoscar Hernandez shied away from, intimidated by the quirky green monster. That turned into a double and led to 2 more runs. Sure, that's frustrating. Stroman, it seems, only likes preaching to the choir. It's almost Trumpian. He offers up all cliches at his once every 5 days media session, believing instead that his 467,500 Twitter followers, 503K Instagram fans, and the occasional use of Derek Jeter's invention, the Players Tribune, are all that he needs. Stroman needs to expand his professional horizons, paying more attention to history and his employer, and to his teammates. The game is bigger than one man. I recall after Game 1 of the 1988 World Series between the LA Dodgers and Oakland, when Kirk Gibson had just ended the game for a Dodgers win with one of the most memorable home runs in World Series history. When the A's clubhouse opened to media, future Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley, who allowed the bomb, stood in front of his locker and answered wave after wave of similar questions about his failure in the spotlight. That's class. I have had a Jays teammate look around when I approached to talk to make sure Stroman was not watching. Leaders don't do that. The organization has permitted this antisocial behavior and can be part of the solution. Stroman believes he doesn't get enough respect from media. It's a two-way street. He may take this as spiteful criticism, but it is only meant to be constructive. The Jays' second half can only get better, can't it? Richard Griffin is a sports columnist based in Toronto. Follow him on Twitter, @GriffinStar.